like Genesis. We'll create it from nothing. Right? We'll build in all the institutions, all the factors, and all the details of a new world. To abandon this old horrid one where Oscar keeps following me around. Right? But how will we go about doing that? By what metric will we judge as to whether or not the new world we create is ethical? And the metric by which we'll measure this today, we feel, is one where we can say that if we create this world without ourselves in it yet, we would be happy regardless of where we ended up if we started in this world. Meaning that random disadvantages would not affect us, and we will be indifferent as to where we ended up in this new world we created. That is not the case of the world we live in today. We still prefer living in the first world, and we don't quite like being in the developing world, even if we can't tell you why. No, well, even if you can't tell yourself why, there's a lot of reasons why. Right? And so we think that when we discuss moral responsibility today, we think that any act which perpetuates, right, the inequality, like a lower desire to be in African states over the developed world, any act which perpetuates that inequality holds you morally responsible for their suffering. Alright? Now we think this is an analysis motion, so we're going to discuss the ideas here. But we're perfectly happy on our side to support any policy, right, which massively redistributes wealth towards third world nations, right? We'll discuss that later. But I think we've got some more interesting, like idea-type analysis, right? And what I'm going to do to you in my case today, later, is first deal with a big, deal with a big thought experiment, because I learned from this big composition that it's quite a good idea to deal with idea analysis with a big thought experiment about zombies, but this is not what And then we're going to talk about why our moral duty is compounded by the fact that we are citizens of the first world and we benefit from these evil capitalist institutions. Now, first idea, ladies and gentlemen, let's take the Peter Singer idea of a baby drowning and you passing by, right? And at which point we can determine that someone is morally responsible for the death of the heart on someone else. Has anyone been timing me? Because just realized I didn't time myself. No, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the thought experiment goes as such. You pass by a baby drowning in a pond nearby. If you do nothing to it, basically, long story short, I'll discuss the points why, right? You are morally responsible for the death if you do nothing, right? Now, what are the common objections we have to this? And on this I have 5 points. Let's deal with remoteness. Okay? Some people, a common objection is, oh, but Africa is so far away, we can't do anything. We don't think remoteness is enough to exclude you from moral responsibility, right? We think that's reflected in the fact that if I were to press a button, right, which launched a missile to Malaysia and blew up that beautiful nation, right, I would be very responsible for the death of many handsome Chinese boys there. I'd be held highly morally responsible for that, right? So we don't think remoteness is an idea here. Even though you're far away, right, if your actions directly contribute to the suffering or the lowering of their life standards there, we think you are morally responsible. Now, second idea of, the ease at which you can do these things. And now we all know that small amounts on our behalf, right, make huge differences there. And I'll talk about, make huge differences there, right, in terms of buying simple things, even like anti-malarial nets, right, getting clean sources of clean water, right. So we think it's really easy steps on our part to give money, to give money to the third world. And even if it involves redistributing wealth to the point where you're not able to buy anything non-essential, we think you survive perfectly fine as a self-actualizing agent with your essentials in life, right? Food, shelter, some clothing, although some people don't want me to have it, right? So we think that it's not difficult and that's not an excuse. What about the idea of collective apathy? Now people always say, oh, but no one else is doing it, right? The common response is, no one else is taking any action. We don't think that's enough, right? We don't think that's enough of a reason for you to be able to stand by, say, everything like the Nuremberg principles apply, right? We don't think you can stand up and say, everyone else was not doing anything, I was following orders, right? I went with the crowd, they should have done something, and they had equal moral opportunity. We don't care. The fact that you had that opportunity and did not take that positive action to help others leaves you morally responsible for that destitution, right? Now the question of, and on fourth point, the question of, probabilistic doubt. But if I donate, I don't know what the exact effects are. Fine, okay? That's the case for improving the efficiencies of charity. But honestly, who are you kidding, right? All sensible and plausible research shows that money channeled through most of these responsible charities make a huge difference in the life of many of these Africans, right? Make a huge difference in the things I've just said, like easy policy, right? Widespread TB and anti-malarial like medication and nets, right? Simple, cheap things, right? Which benefit the lives of these people massively. So we don't think the kind of argument that says, well, we may not have an effect on them, right? Is enough to abscond your responsibility. And finally, the idea that when you don't donate, it's an omission. Bullshit, right? We think money is limited, right? You make positive actions and positive choices over how you spend your money. We think we're perfectly fine passing moral judgment over the positive acts you take as a moral agent, right? So it's not an act of omission, right? You positively chose to spend it on your new pair of Gucci red shoes. Okay, second point, ladies and gentlemen. You are a citizen of the first world and you benefit from the institutions set up around you, right? How do you benefit from them? You benefit by being part of this state and enjoying its protection and enjoying its benefits, right? These are states which, okay, I'll take you now.
So there's a moral monster for having both that shirt.
Yes. Yes. These are states we live in, right? We perpetuate, like, common agricultural policy, dumping policies, right? To support the rich farmers of the West and destroy the landowners in third world nations, right? These are countries which support world institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, who propagate neoliberal lies, right? So, and we always end up benefiting the first world, right? As like hyperinflation ravages the third, right? These are countries which have supported leaders like Marcos and Pinochet, right? To keep these countries weak and to keep ourselves sustained with this myth of like international labor mobility. So we have this huge pool of like destitute workers who work for pennies and produce my Abercrombie and Fitch t-shirt. These are countries which benefit us, right? Even if we don't take positive action to support the state, the fact that we live within it is tacit compliance, right? We benefit by buying their consumer goods. We are complicit by participating in the state, right? And for these reasons, I think everyone here is a moral policy.